Hi, I'm Fabio.
And I'm Jana.
Ciao, come stai?
Oi, tudo bem?
Konnichiwa.
Bonjour.
¿Cómo estás? Buenos días.
안녕하세요.
Salam alaikum.
Ni hao. Welcome to the Cultural Fusion Podcast.
Welcome to the Cultural Fusion Podcast. My name is Fabio, and here we have...
Jana. Hi, everybody.
Ohayou
Welcome.
gozaimasu.
Ohayou gozaimasu. O genki desu ka?
元気です。おかげさまで、ジョナさん。
ありがとうございました。
日本語
よろしくお願いします。
話しますか？
はい、ちょっと日本語を話します。
すごいね。日本語が難しいと思います。
そうですよ。本当に難しいです。
Français? Est-ce que tu parles français aussi?
Je parle un peu de français, oui.
oui, bien
C'est la
sûr.
première langue étrangère que j'ai étudiée.
Super. Est-ce que tu as appris le français où? En Belgique?
Ah non, j'ai commencé au lycée.
Super. Où exactement? Aux États-Unis?
Oui, aux États-Unis.
Bravo! E você fala português também?
Sim, eu falo pouco de português com você.
Perfeito. E você ouve todos os dias português?
Isso, eu
Que maravilha! Well, Jana.
¿Espanhol?
Espanhol también, podemos hablar español.
Sí, un poquito.
Un poco. Perfecto. ¿Tú hablas español?
No quiero decir que hablo, pero hablo más portuñol y puedo entender más español que hablo.
Pero estás practicando el español.
Sí, todas las semanas en este momento.
And this is, Jana, is actually how we practiced before we had kids.
Yes, we just went to Starbucks or any cafe and we hung out, we had coffee, and we would speak different languages to each other. Back and forth, back and forth. So at that point, my French was better than yours. So I would try to teach you French and you would teach me Spanish and Portuguese, but now you've studied tons of French.
Wow.
So those days are over. And back then too, my Japanese was better. And now I think your Japanese has just gotten awesome.
Well, Jana, I remember going to
Otsukaresama.
Starbucks on, do you remember exactly the Starbucks?
Oh yeah, Feather Sound.
Feather Sound,
In
driving
Clearwater.
Florida, and we spent 10 minutes, yes, in Spanish, 10 minutes in French, 10 minutes in Portuguese, 10 minutes in Japanese. It was so much fun. And
Yes.
Jana, now that our girls are old enough, what do you think? We should definitely restart this exercise. And you know what? We could even include them in the game. What do you
Yes.
think about that?
Well, we kind of already do at dinner sometimes when we throw in different languages. And yeah, it's how you learn languages. You practice them on a daily basis in a fun way. And I think it's a good idea.
That's a great
Actually,
idea.
Sophia came to Spanish with me today.
That's right.
So, and you.
And we have been practicing kanji in Japanese.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I need to get back into that as well. That's good.
Yeah. Well, Jana, so you voted and chose today's topic, learning languages. We want to start by thanking all of you, our listeners, for voting, following us on Instagram, Cultural Fusion 21, leaving your comments on Spotify and YouTube. And as always, please, please, please share your experiences. Remember, our experiences are not yours. We want to hear your journey navigating this multicultural and fascinating path of learning languages.
Yes, share the languages that you're learning. Because right now I can think of people in Cultural Fusion who are studying German, Mandarin, Japanese, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian. What else, Fabio? What do you know people are studying? Arabic.
Arabic, yes.
Yep. Italian, did I say? So
Italian, yeah.
there's a big, just within our group, I bet there's 20 languages. Like Kotopo.
Amazing.
Kotopo offers 20 languages.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's fun. And
Polish. I know people studying Polish.
Yeah, Polish.
So tell us which language you guys are learning and tell us what you're doing to learn those languages. Because that's
right.
what we're going to talk about today as well.
Exactly.
We want to hear what's
Jana.
working for you and we'll
Yep.
tell you what works for us.
Yeah. And Jana, before we dive in,
Yeah.
I want to share a phrase. All right? Are you ready?
Sure.
For inspiration about learning languages. How about you guys? You listening to me? Are you guys ready? So, a phrase I want to share with all of you is to have another language is to possess a second soul.
Yeah, possess a second soul.
Thank you. Possess.
Yes.
So that's already a first mistake. Pronunciation, Jonathan.
You were in your Brazilian soul when you were
That's
talking
right.
when you said that word. But you know, this is such an interesting phrase because remember when we were in Japan and sometimes I would get really polite
Yeah.
and it bothered you.
Wow.
So my Japanese soul is sometimes too polite for you.
That's correct.
Yep. And my Spanish soul, when I was speaking Spanish with you in Spain and cutting onions, I couldn't do both. And
That's
so
right.
all the onions fell over.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And I want to know, do you change your personality when you're speaking different languages?
I think so, definitely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. I remember when I was in Italy, one of my friends said, Fabio, I can't believe it. Have you never seen you speaking Italian? And now I see you this, very joyful personality. And well, it's basically when I'm speaking Portuguese, but I can see I'm totally a different person. And guess what? This phrase, do you know who said this phrase, Jana?
Who?
Charles
Oh yeah, how do you say it?
Charlemagne? Charlemagne?
Charlemagne?
Ah oui, c'est ça.
Charlemagne.
And by the way, how do you say his name in English?
Good question. I've heard it Charlemagne also in English.
All right.
But maybe Charlemagne.
Okay. In Portuguese, it's totally different.
How do you say
is
it?
Carlos Magno.
No way. It's like
yeah.
King Tut.
Yeah.
Do you know what King Tut is?
No.
In
Oh.
every other language? You taught me.
Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Tutankhamun. How do you say it? Yeah, Tutankhamun.
Yes.
Come on. In almost every language.
so funny.
And in English, it's King Tut.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what you were talking about the first time you said that.
And do you remember when I was talking about my boss and his name in Catalan? It is
Yeah.
Jordi. So
Yeah.
he was my former boss before I met you in Belgium. But it was so funny I was speaking in English with everybody else and he was next to me. I said, well, George said, and you, who is George?
Yeah, that was so confusing to me. And I'm wondering if any listeners do the same thing. So do you translate your name in other languages? Because Fabio, his boss was a different name. Jordi, what were the other ones?
Jorge in
Jorge,
Spanish.
exactly.
Jorge in Portuguese. George in English. And in Catalan, Jordi.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, and you would say them different every time. And I didn't know who you were talking about because I didn't realize it was all the same person. So I don't recommend translating names unless you say the other language as well.
That's correct.
So people can
That's
follow.
correct. This is something
But
I've
you're
been learning with you.
Yeah, and you're always Fabio, right?
That's also, we chose Sophia, because when she was born, we said, well, you know what? We have to choose a name that is easy or you can pronounce her name in all the languages.
But I am Juanita. When I study Spanish, I'm Juanita.
Juanita. And
So
just
what else, Fabio?
A fun fact.
Yeah.
Charlemagne's library from the 9th century is not far from here, where we are in Collonges-Mont-d'Or. It's on Ile Barbe in Lyon. He was the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, but that's a topic for one of my historical tours, Jana.
Yes. Listeners can also sign up for your history tours. But let's get back to learning languages, Fabio.
About this phrase, by the way, his phrase, I think it's fascinating because it shows that learning a language is not, Jana, just about words or grammar. It's about opening yourself to another way of thinking, another culture, another perspective. When you learn a language, you gain access to the soul of that culture. It changes how you see the world and even, Jonah, how you experience yourself. Each new language, for instance, is like adding another layer to your understanding, another lens through which to feel and interpret life. What do you think about this idea? How have you felt actually a second soul when you are learning a new language?
Well, I definitely can be a different person. I think, especially when I was in Japanese, I would give very small kind of to be polite, whereas when I'm speaking English, my gestures are much bigger and I'm more, full of life because I'm not worrying about being as polite, But it's there's something I was going to say about the soul thing. Oh, you just learning a language isn't enough to learn a culture.
That's right.
And that's a hard lesson.
That's very difficult.
Because you can get really good at a language, but that doesn't mean you'll fully understand what's happening in the culture.
That's right. That's correct.
And you hit those walls as you're going along.
That's
So-
right. That's a very
So
good
you need
point.
both. You need,
Yep.
you need to both learn the language and also the culture with it. And that even works. Like, let's say, I speak English. So when I'm around British people, it doesn't mean we always understand each other.
Wow.
And same with Australians. Remember when we were on the bus in Australia?
Yes.
And the guy told me a whole long story.
Yes.
And he was so happy to tell me, and I didn't understand anything. And I turned to you and I said, Fabio, I didn't understand anything.
Yeah.
And
And
I
what
know
did I say?
it's my maternal language. You said, oh, good, because neither did I.
That's right. And sometimes I have conversation with I'm so sorry, British friends. And
Yeah.
I don't understand them at all. When I
they-
come back home, I said, Jana, I couldn't understand them. And you say, well, I can't understand them either. I say,
Yeah.
oof.
And they don't understand us sometimes. It depends
Absolutely.
on the context. But yeah,
right.
it's one of so the language is not enough, but at the same time, it's a great start.
Yeah.
So how do you study languages, Fabio?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. When I study a new language, there are so many ways to immerse myself. I like what.
18 hours.
Thank you for my computer just saying about that. I thank you very much. Watching movies, Netflix, and for instance, YouTube tutorials, and I target a language and I pursue that language every day using exchange apps, for instance, like Duolingo, or talking to myself, or sometimes joining local meetup groups, for instance, or Zoom language exchanges, and attending language schools, or even traveling. So I have been traveling to so many places where the language is spoken to practice either Spanish or English or Italian, watching the news online, and sometimes even Francais facile. It's not complicated, it's not difficult. I can just go online, either watch YouTube or Spotify. And how about you, Jana?
Well, if I can push you a little bit further, why don't you just give us a typical day in your week? Because I see you do lots of different languages. You call Suzuki-san every week, and you speak Japanese with him, and then you trade it for Spanish. So can you just go through what's a typical day for you, and how many languages are you studying, and then exactly how you're studying them? Because I think that's what people want to know. They really want to know the practicality. How do you find time in your day? I was talking to a language guide,
Yes.
and she said people don't know how to use time.
Yes.
I was listening to Japanese on the way to the cafe, and she said, people always tell me they have no time to study languages. And look what you just did. You listened to a podcast while you were driving.
Yes.
So is that what our listeners are doing? Are you listeners having trouble finding time when you wake up, before you go to bed, on a break? So what are you doing, Fabio?
Yeah,
specifically.
That's a good point. So I still maintain my language exchanges today with Suzuki.
Yeah.
That's correct. Every Thursday at 2 p.m., I spend 15 minutes in Spanish and 15 minutes in Japanese with Suzuki.
Okay.
This is for sure.
That's
Once a
amazing.
week.
I want to just say to listeners, that's only 30 minutes a week.
A week.
And it
Yeah.
actually makes a difference.
Yes, and
Okay.
it's interesting because it started face-to-face in Japan for 2 years, and for the last 7 years, we've been doing it from France. It's amazing. It's been going on for 9 years now, Jana. That's incredible. And also, I like to study kanji,
Okay.
and then 10, 15 minutes, sometimes every day or every other day, and I watch YouTube channel, Easy Japanese,
Okay.
10 minutes every day. So in French, I watch some news every day,
Okay.
and 10 minutes. So it's always 10, 15 minutes every day, every language.
Yeah.
And I have Italian soap opera that I have been watching for 17 years.
And that one gets a lot of laughs from Italians.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's correct.
You have to be careful who you share that with.
My Italian friends, by the way, laugh at me when I say that I have been watching the same Italian soap opera, and it's called Un Posto al Sole for 17 years, 25 minutes every evening. It's really fun.
Yeah.
First, because, Jana, it's set in Naples, where my grandmother's roots are. And actually it's become a kind of therapy for me. So as you know, I really laugh, relax, and enjoy it before going to bed. I even had a fun experience recently in Italy. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Florence and I was talking to a manager, also named Fabio. And suddenly, mentioned that I watched in Postal Soli, he was shocked and jokingly said, "No, now you have to pay 2,250,000 euros instead of 25 euros for your dinner." So it was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Well, somehow you lost his respect when you told him what you're saying. No, that's great. And how do you study Spanish, or do you keep in touch with it?
Well, not really, because I spent probably 2-3 years studying Spanish, going to a language school, and I'm talking about 25 years ago. And then I started doing volunteer work.
Okay.
Well, that's something I want to share with all of you, because I did volunteer work also in Canada when I was studying English. So in 2000, in 2004 and 5, when I already had English fluently speaking. So I did in São Paulo for 2 years, helping Bolivians and people coming from Latin America in Spanish. And then definitely 6 years living in Spain and doing my master's in marketing. So I was absolutely immersed in Spanish. How about you, Jonah?
Yeah.
Tell us about
I'm
you.
sorry I'm taking a long time because I have one more question for you, and then yes, I will tell my
All right.
method. So I know that some of our listeners feel like they're losing their native language.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that? How have you kept up your Portuguese, even though, of course, it's your mother tongue?
That's
But
correct.
how have you kept in touch with it? And has it changed? Has your accent changed? And do you feel strong in Portuguese, and why?
Well, that's a very good question. So I think accents, I have accent in all the languages that I speak. So English, French, Spanish, Italian, and Japanese, and it's totally fine. It's okay. So the most important thing when you are learning a new language, it is to be understood. So that's the first thing. And when sometimes I speak Portuguese, people may say, "Hey, well, I see and I hear an accent."
Yeah.
And then I explain why. So I have maybe an accent. So because I have been living abroad for 20 years, and usually I speak Portuguese every day with my kids.
Yeah.
So I'm in touch with my language because I have been speaking Portuguese with the kids, but not with you. I speak English with you,
Yeah.
and I speak French most of the time when I'm outside. So, but definitely because it's my first language, as soon as I'm in Brazil, as soon as I am around other Brazilians, so Portuguese comes back immediately.
That's great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So my method, it's taken me a long time. I'm not a good language learner. The way that I learn languages best is in the classroom. I'm kind of the opposite of you. So when we studied Japanese at the same time, I think the classroom for you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but feels kind of confining, where you like to go to the store and ask the questions and you like to practice the language. I really enjoy the competition with myself when I'm learning in a classroom, because I don't know, being around other students, kind of trying to compete with them, compete with myself, be faster, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know if it's neurotic, a bad thing or whatever, but that really works for me. Plus I like the structure of the classroom, and I like how the teacher gives me kind of exactly the phrases that I can be practicing. So now I haven't been going to school for a while in languages, and so I've had to create my own. So what did I do? Okay, I just finished my doctorate in June, and I decided this year, it took me a long time to think through this, but I said this year I'm going to pick 6 languages. I'm going to do 1 each month, and then I'm going to rotate those 6 again, so then that makes 12 months. So I started in June, and I studied Spanish in June, Portuguese in July, Arabic in August. For the first time in my life, I broke my brain, I think, because it was so hard. And then now I'm doing Japanese. Next month, I'm going to start Italian for the first time. And then the next month is French. I want to go deep dive in French because I really love that language. And then I'll start all over again with Spanish. So what do? Every day I wake up and I make sure to read in the target language, just 5 or 10 minutes. I usually do Duolingo, and I like to put that with Busu, or some people say Busu in French, but I think it's maybe an African word. And those 2 apps are my current favorites, and I think they work well together. So a little bit of that each day. And then I'm supposed to be writing every day. I've not been doing well in Japanese, but if you just buy one beginner book, 10 to 20 euros, you can start writing in the language, reading in the language. And then I have a goal for myself to speak 30 minutes 4 times a month in the target language. So I did that with, wonderful people from Cultural Fusion just volunteered their time in Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, and now I just have to find my Japanese speakers. So that one's working well for me. And then right before I go to bed, I try to do another 5 to 10 minutes. And why? Do you know that?
Why?
Well, there's research that whatever you do right before you fall asleep, you retain it. So I thought that was cool. And then I try to watch a TV show or, some Netflix or something in the target language. And that's been so fun. You know why? Because I'm someone who I don't do well with dead time. I feel like I'm wasting time. And so every time I have a minute to breathe, I just go to my language.
That's really cool. And Jana, I remember when I was in Canada, for instance, because today we have so many possibilities to practice a language. YouTube, Spotify, language exchange, everything is so accessible. But I remember 25 years ago, we didn't have WhatsApp, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have this possibility to have language exchange. So I didn't speak English fluently yet. I would go to malls and shops just to be in touch with native speakers and ask simple questions. What is this computer? How about this camera? I like these shoes. Do you have them in a different color? Well, I was not planning to buy anything. I didn't even have the money, but I wanted to get to know local businesses and practice the language. And I did the same when I was in Fujisawa, Japan, Florence in Italy. As I said before, I even volunteered in hospitals to visit people once I had enough vocabulary for that kind of work. So with that in mind, Jana, I want to ask you, and especially to tell our listeners about our events, how they can learn and practice languages, do volunteer work, and find language partners if they are in Lyon, elsewhere in Europe, or planning to visit Lyon. How can they connect with us through Meetup, Halo, or Hello Talk, Instagram, or at our events and language cafes? They can join us, meet others, practice languages, and even get involved in volunteering.
Well, there's there are 4 things every week. So on Tuesdays from 9 to 1, they can come to Cultural Fusion Cafe near Saxe Gambetta. So this is for all the local people who are, within 30 to 45 minutes from Lyon. Every Tuesday's the cafe. Tuesday evening, they can come to French Conversation, also near Saxe Gambetta. Saturday mornings at Parc de la Tête d'Or, and then we're going to move to indoor to cafes when it gets colder, so they can do those things as well. So every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., we're doing English, and at noon, we're practicing Spanish. And then we have a Japanese event coming up on October 4th, and there was something else. They can get involved in our WhatsApp groups. We have 12 WhatsApp groups, a lot of different languages, Portuguese, Spanish, French, English, and Japanese as well. So those are some ways. Now, I want to also put a challenge out to some of the listeners who know us, wherever they are. If we already have a relationship, they can even do their own group wherever they live. So I think that's one thing that we've noticed in the last 15 years is that people are pretty scared to just go to a cafe and invite people to practice a language. But it's so easy. And now with Halo and, of course, Meetup, you can just do it wherever you are, or you can find one that already exists, and then we can coach you. If one doesn't exist where you are, we can coach you on how to get your language, your target language, in your area. And it's just incredible with all the tools. And while I'm here, too, because I know people are going to be looking for exact tools. So the Pimsleur program. I've just been hearing, I used Pimsleur 15, 20 years ago to learn French. It's an excellent pedagogy, a great learning style, and you can get your Pimsleur courses online, and I've heard they've got really good new modern ones. And then they've got, there's iTalki. Didn't you do the iTalki ones, Fubs?
I think I did once, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe even for a while. And then Tandem is another one that people talk about. So, you can write us in the comments or just text us, and we can tell you about a million resources. I even have an email just for learning French, like Geraldine. I don't know if you've ever seen Geraldine. She's on YouTube, and she's fantastic at teaching French. So contact us. There's this podcast in Japanese on Spotify. It's just Easy Japanese. I can send you that as well. So we can put some of this in below the text, right?
Yes,
for YouTube and
absolutely.
Spotify. Yeah, we have tons of resources. What
That's
else?
very, very helpful, John. And guess what? So recently, I also have been using a new tool to practice languages.
I know what it
Chun,
is.
chun, chun.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, for instance. Chan, chan, chan. 日本語できますか？
はい、できますよ。日本語での会話も全然問題ありません。何か聞きたいことや話したいことがあれば遠慮なくどうぞ。
すごいね。私はファビオです。はじめまして。よろしくお願いします。
こちらこそ、はじめましてよろしくお願いします。パオさん、何か気になることや話したいテーマがあれば、ぜひ教えてくださいね。
Pero tú puedes hablar español también, porque quiero practicar español.
Claro que sí, también puedo hablar en español, así que si quieres practicarlo, con gusto lo hacemos. Tú dime cómo prefieres continuar.
Genial. Mira, español me encanta, pero puedo hacerte una pregunta.
Genial, me alegra que te encante el español. Claro, puedes hacerme la pregunta que quieras. Adelante.
Je suis à Lyon, donc je dois parler français. En fait, français, c'est très, très compliqué. C'est très difficile. Tu peux parler français aussi?
Claro, puedo hablar en francés también. De hecho, entiendo que el francés pueda ser complicado, pero con práctica se va haciendo más fácil.
Alors, on va commencer à parler en français. Donc, il faut changer, hein? Tu dois changer en français, hein? Parle avec moi en français aussi, s'il te plaît.
D'accord, pas de souci. On va continuer en français alors. Je vais parler en français avec toi sans problème. Dis-moi ce que tu veux et on y va.
Alors, merci
Super.
beaucoup. Bonne journée. À bientôt.
That's just
Perfecto,
incredible.
muchas gracias. Que tengas un buen día.
Genial.
Wow.
Jana, that's amazing.
Yeah, I need that for Arabic actually, because my Arabic was so hard to study Arabic. That's definitely the hardest language I've ever studied.
So it's amazing, Jana, how learning languages opens the door to culture. At the same time, it's very humbling. You always have an accent, as I said before, and you never fully grasp a culture or language unless you are completely bilingual or trilingual. Well, and experience 2 or 3 cultures simultaneously. So that's very rare, and it may happen. But even then, there is so much nuance. That actually, Jana, gives me an idea for future episodes. We could explore the experience of third culture kids. And Jana, you said something at the beginning. It's very, very important because when you study any language, so we see and we know the language basically is shaping us to understand the culture. And we know this is what we call the cultural iceberg. Do you remember a little bit about this concept? Share with us a little bit about when you are studying a language, you just see what we call surface, correct?
Yeah, I don't actually remember the picture as well, but I think we talked about it a little bit in the first episode, that you might see 10% of what's going on, but then there's this 90% that's hidden, kind of like an iceberg underneath, and that's what it takes years to find. And that's the deeper stuff. That might be the humor, for example. Humor in another language is one of the hardest things to learn. I don't even know if I fully get French humor, although my first year I learned that irony works. So it took me, I was in France about a year, and I went into the bakery, and I learned that you just say the opposite of what's true with a straight face. So it was like pouring cats and dogs. It was pouring a downpour, and I just said, quel beau temps. And they smiled. They just loved that kind of ironic statement. Or I guess it's borderline with sarcasm as well. And that works well. And then another time I went to Slake, one of your favorite coffee shops in town in Lyon. And I walked in and they had travaux. So what's travaux? Construction, right? Right in front of their place. Nobody could even get there. I mean, to walk into Slake took me 10 minutes because I had to go around all this construction. So when I finally got in, I said, oh, wow, c'est sympa, le travaux. It's really great to have so much construction right in front of your store. And he ran with it. He loved it so much. And then he kept talking. He said, yeah, ça me berce. It rocks me to sleep all day. Like, and we just had a great conversation. So, it took me a while, and I definitely have not cracked the French code on humor. But what about you? Do you get American humor?
Well, not at all. So, and again, I think language is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
When we talk about a cultural iceberg. On the surface, you have all the things you can immediately see and measure: grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. And this is very difficult. So as you see right now, I'm using English and I have to pronounce very well every word. But definitely when I'm speaking in public, like for an hour, some people will not get everything, even though I have a perfect grammar. So that's why learning language, it's very, very humbling. So the ability to speak and write, this is something completely different because I can't write in French very well. So, but it's okay. It's a progress every day. But beneath the surface lies the much, much larger hidden part of the iceberg, Jana. Culture. This includes, for instance, body language, traditions, customs, values, humor, as you say, ways of thinking, social norms, and all the subtle cues that truly give your language life. It's deeper level that shapes how people communicate, how they interpret meaning, and how they relate to one another. You can learn all the words and rules in the word, but if you miss the underlying culture, Jana, you are only scratching the surface. What do you think about that? Make
Yeah,
sense?
I totally agree. Yeah. So I think we should start talking about what we've been talking about, and kind of maybe come to a close.
Yes.
I noticed that you had this quote too. You reminded me of it, the C.S. Lewis
C.S. Lewis,
quote.
it's amazing.
Do you want to
Yes.
read that?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You have it?
I have to find it.
There we go.
Start it for me
You are never too old
to learn something new.
set another goal or to dream a new dream.
Okay, you're never too old to set a new goal, another goal,
Another goal,
or to
a
dream
new
a
goal.
new dream. Okay,
Yes.
so that goes with kind of our theme today. I want to
Yes.
leave everybody with these ideas. First of all, there's a lot of different ways to study languages. Some people are going to be good at reading, some are going to be good at understanding, and some are going to be good at speaking. So find what works for you and work on the other ones. I always tell people, find what you love in your own language and study it in the new language. So if you love soccer, now watch it in English or now watch it in French. If you love shopping or makeup, watch all those videos that you would watch on YouTube anyway, but watch them in your target language. Okay, so is it as difficult as we make it? No, because you can do it for 5 minutes twice a day or 10 minutes a day, and it'll make you huge progress. So it's never too late, and you're not too old to start something new. And it's really not as complicated as we make it to be. What else?
And learning a language, don't forget, is a journey. And every step counts. It's not a sprint, you say, like a
Yeah.
fast race, not at all. It's a marathon.
It's a marathon. So it's easier than you think, but don't give up. You got to persevere. And then also don't be surprised if just the language isn't enough, but also try to study the culture, the faux pas, the things not to do or the things to do. Talk with the people, learn from the people, be a listener, an observer all along the way, right?
Absolutely. I just want to remind you, listening to us, listening to this podcast, pick a method that works for you and start today.
Yeah.
Because what Jana does, it's not usually what I do, and what I do, it's not the method that Jana uses and does. So pick you a method that works for you and start today. Whether it's an app, a conversation with a friend, or watching a movie, the most important thing is simply to begin and to keep going. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. In fact, expect them. You have to make mistakes to learn a new language. And also, Jana, we have to remind everyone, get out of your comfort zone, the bubble where you stay with people from your own country or language while you are in a foreign country. I know
right.
you might miss the familiar food, culture, language, but spending time in a space where you are challenged is essential. Only by stepping into the unfamiliar can you truly improve the language you are studying.
Yep. So make it fun too.
Absolutely.
And there's one other thing I thought of is when you're in the kitchen and let's say you're doing the dishes. Think of everything in that language. Assiette, fourchette, couteau. Say each word as you're touching the thing. So or while you're doing your laundry. Je vais laver le linge aujourd'hui. And you think in that language as you're doing your tasks. And I found that really helpful too.
Amazing. Don't forget, the cultural iceberg is waiting for you under the surface. Explore it and enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey. Jana, could you summarize a little bit? Like someone from a low context culture because you come from the United States? Well,
Sure.
Say what you want to say, then say what you have to say, and finally say what was said.
Yes, we totally did, right? We talked about you're getting a new soul when you learn a new language. It's simpler than it is. We've got lots of resources for you. Write us, share your resources. Let's, get the momentum going so that everybody knows that it's possible to learn a language. Find your style, attack it, and don't give up. And start small. So...
And that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to share your experience with us on Spotify or YouTube. If you think your friends or others might benefit, share this podcast with them. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Cultural Fusion 21, Cultural Fusion 21. And if you are in Lyon or anywhere else in Europe, check out our events. You will find everything on Instagram. You can practice languages, join volunteer opportunities, and find language exchange partners. See you next time on the Cultural Fusion podcast.
Yes, subscribe today. Sign up for Instagram, like you said, but also join our WhatsApp groups. Sign up for Halo. Sign up for Meetup, but we're going to fade that out. So sign up for Halo, and then be sure to vote on the next topic. And I think we cover most of it. And come to our events. You've got 4 events every week in Lyon. Oh, and we're in Saint-Cyr. We're in Parc de la Tête d'Or. We're going to be in Le République and Café de la Cloche. So we just want to thank all our partners.
Café Puzzle.
We're going to be Café Puzzle every 2 weeks. La Causerie. And I think that covers everything we're doing right now. So come on out. See you soon.
All right. See you. Mata kondo. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimashita. Mata.
À la prochaine fois.
A bientôt.
Bye bye. Hi, I'm Fabio.
And I'm Jana.
Ciao, come stai?
Oi, tudo bem?
Konnichiwa.
Bonjour.
Como estás? Buenos dias.
Annyeonghaseyo.
Salam alaikum.
Ni hao. Welcome to the Cultural Fusion Podcast.